All right, welcome back, and thank you so much indeed for staying with us. This morning here on the show, we're crisscrossing between Cape Town in the Western Cape, that is where Leanne is, for the 50th celebration of the first human-to-human heart transplant, as well as the World Commemoration Day that's taking place in the Eastern Cape. That is where our reporter Zimkhita Manqinana is this morning. Zimkhita, it's back to you.
Welcome back, Palesa. What you're seeing there is the acting king of Abatembu, Prince Azenati Dalindyebo, welcoming 2,000 young virgins that are encouraging other young people to abstain in their attempts of fighting the scourge of HIV and AIDS in our society. But now let's take a look at this insight that focuses on the stigma that people who are infected and affected by HIV go through. This is one of thousands of HIV support groups across the country. Here, people affected and infected with HIV laugh, cry, and educate each other. The aim is to reduce HIV infections in the country and encourage those infected with the virus to take their treatment. Nonzaliseko Ntwana has been living with the virus for more than 12 years. She says it was difficult to accept her status, but through a support group, she started taking her treatment and living a positive life. She now shares her knowledge to help others.
We help one another with information. I disclosed my status, when I tested and why. Unfortunately, I never had access to the single pill treatment.
This LGBTI group also says it faces challenges relating to reinfection.
In our facilities, we don't have the dental dams, the lubricants, and the finger condoms. So we have to buy them, of which we're not all working. So we are suffering a lot. We don't know how are we going to reach the 90-90 strategy.
Children living with HIV is another challenge. There are no visible support groups for them.
They should be aware that they are using these ARVs, and they should be able to accept their status. We as UTAC also need the assistance from e-health facilities, from other organizations, so that we can conquer this HIV and AIDS.
UNAIDS has ambitions that by 2020, 90% of people living with HIV will know their HIV status, and those people diagnosed will receive sustainable antiretroviral treatment. Health NGOs say this will only be reached if they push towards working together, both in private and government sectors. Zimkhita Manqinana, SABC News, Eastern Cape. Well, we are still here at Bumbane, great place where 2,000 young virgins are parading through the streets of Bumbane, encouraging other young people to abstain in their attempts of preventing the scourge of HIV and AIDS in the Eastern Cape. As we know that the Owatambo district area where we are, Palesa, is the area with the highest numbers of prevalence of the virus in the province. But now we're going to talk to someone who's very close to communities that are affected and infected by the virus. And with me now is the chairperson of the Civic Society, Okhanyi Sadunja. A very good morning and a warm welcome on this 29th commemoration of World AIDS Day. Just tell us, as a woman yourself, what are those things that you are doing in communities to try and encourage young women to stay away from being infected by this virus?
Good morning, Zimkhita, and good morning to your viewers. I also represent the women's sector, and so when I speak, I'm not going to talk about myself, but I'm going to talk about us women as a collective and what we are doing. So one of the things that we are doing as women in the AIDS response is to ensure that women lead. We have a very strong revolution, an HIV prevention revolution. We are really striving to reduce the number of new HIV infections by 75% go 2020. So it is really important for women to be at the forefront in leading the prevention agenda, because women carry the burden of HIV.
I know yesterday you had a dialogue with sex workers here in Tata. What came out of that dialogue?
Okay, what came out of the dialogue, sex workers were basically saying that there's a lot of police brutality. Police taking the money that they make on the street, police taking condoms condoms away from sex workers. But one of the things that emerged, which was a surprise to all of us, was that the municipal police are also involved, because for the longest time we have been looking at the SAPS police as culprits, but also we need to begin to pay attention to the municipal police and engage the municipality. And the interesting thing is that the OR Tambo municipality and even KSD, they are holding AIDS councils. So this is one of the matters that their AIDS council needs to ensure that it's taken forward.
I know that 2,000 new infections are recorded across the country weekly. And last year, Deputy President Cyril Ramaphosa launched the You Conquer campaign. What is the motive of that campaign, and how are you getting through with the campaign in rural communities like this one where we are?
Okay, the campaign that was launched is She Conquers. We are saying that women can, she can conquer, she can fight HIV, and she can lead the HIV prevention agenda. This morning, 8 o'clock, we're also having a dialogue with young women where they'll be looking at how best can they lead the prevention. But what we're really interested in as the Eastern Cape community is to ensure that all our communities and our diversity, urban and rural, are able to coordinate this campaign. And this is a campaign that is built on existing programs. So we're really interested in coordination of it so that we can be able to see the contribution that women and young girls are making in fighting the spread of HIV.
While we were preparing for this day, Sis Khanyisa, I was crisscrossing the rural parts of the Eastern Cape, and what I sense in communities is that those who are infected by the virus can freely talk about it, but those who have not been infected are sort of skeptical and don't know much about the virus. What is your attitude, and what do you sense when you go through the Eastern Cape?
Okay, the knowledge, it's a huge challenge. We still need to ensure that knowledge levels of people improve when it comes to HIV. We need to make sure that communities are not left behind, because a lot of planning needs to involve communities. Civil society is there to ensure that communities are not left behind, but also development partners and government needs to create a space for civil society to be able to come with solutions.
Thank you very much for your time. That was Khanyisa Dunjwa, the chairperson of civil society here in the Eastern Cape and the co-chairperson of the Provincial AIDS Council. Well, when we come back later, because the much focus today, this morning, is on traditional leaders getting on board in helping government and other authorities in trying to fight HIV/AIDS. So when we come back, we'll be speaking to the acting king of Abatembu. Now it's back to you with the news with Padesa.